Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. And there is a lot to cover. There's always a lot to cover, but I mean, there really is a lot to cover today. And I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams, and I can't ever get the banner up in time because that's the last thing I forget. It's just the last thing I always remember to put up. And I'm joined by the man, the myth, the one and only Mr. John Volkowski.
Is it October yet?
No, it's not. And God, do I wish it's going to be October. You know what, Filk? The one good thing that we've had in the 2 years of doing this podcast, this now being the second year, is short off seasons. And we won't have any more short off seasons after this.
Nope.
Back to July 1st, Canada Day, free agency and all that stuff. But there's so much. Don't worry, we're still going to be having hockey content the entire summer because this is what we do. This is what we do. Filk. Right. So, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. Core, we're definitely going to get to that. So, and how you doing, Mike? But we're going to start with the news of this week. And by the way, everybody, make sure that you tune in. We're going to be live streaming the draft next Thursday, starting at 7:00. And then the week after, we got the free agent frenzy. So check that all out. But this week, Filk, I think it was your prediction came right. Oh, no. Anthony's prediction came right. The Colorado Avalanche win the Stanley Cup 4-2 over the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
Filk, your thoughts on the series?
I thought Tampa Bay was going to come back. I had Tampa Bay in 5. I thought the goaltending matchup would be basically at a severe advantage for Tampa Bay, but it just seemed like it didn't matter. It seemed like no matter what Tampa did, Colorado had an answer for them. It seemed like Colorado's speed was just way too much for Tampa. And the defense and the goaltending, it really didn't matter. Depth wins, and Colorado had depth in spades. That'll be interesting to see who they can and can't keep at this point. But Colorado's got a great core, and they were able to get it done. They were able to just keep pouring it on, and a lot of Tampa's forwards and their defense looked kind of like they were skating in quicksand compared to Colorado's forwards just running circles around them. And that was a great series for Colorado. Congratulations to them, and they're probably going to be around for a bit, I would say.
It's amazing, really looking at that series. Not that any of us doubted Colorado's talent, because they have a ton of talent, and the expectations for them were still so high that they could win the Stanley Cup, even though they haven't even been able to break through the conference finals the entire time. And then for them to go through the playoffs that they did, I did write an article on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com that said they kind of had an easy road. And again, I wasn't trying to take away from them. They had an easy road. They had Nashville without UC Soros. They had St. Louis without Jordan Binnington. And then Edmonton was okay. So, and then they learned their lesson right in game 1, going toe-to-toe with the Tampa Bay Lightning and just beating them 4-3. They took a 3-1 lead. Tampa came back. They didn't convert on that power play right away, and you thought that might be edge Tampa in overtime. But instead what happens is Colorado gets the goal from Burakovsky, and they go on. Now, I do have to say this because I also got to keep plugging the website for us. We do have BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com right there, where we're going to be having lots of write-ups, and a certain handsome writer, let's just say it's right here, wrote about all the obstacles that the Avalanche are going to have to go through next year. So take a look at that.
Toot. You want to toot that horn of yours some more, buddy?
Yeah, well, I got to toot a little bit more. It's shameless self-promotion. That's exactly the way all the internet works. Although I do have lots of shame anyway. But Phil, you know what? It seemed like every question Colorado might have had in this series, Tampa, they just answered them all with Tampa. And the best team to do it against is Tampa. Two-time defending Stanley Cup champion. I've talked long enough. I want to hear more what you got to say about that.
It's funny because this was the matchup I wanted to see last year. I wanted to see this so badly, and it just didn't happen because Colorado just couldn't get over the hump. Darcy Kemper really wasn't even that good for them. I not that I think he was bad, but he really didn't have to be all that great for them. He was pulled a couple of times for Pavel Francouz. Andrei Vasilevsky was not at his best in that series. I think they found a way to get to him. I think they found a way to expose his blocker side high problems. And in Colorado overall just moved the puck so efficiently. Cale Makar was dominant. He really was probably the best defensive performance we've seen since Brian Leetch in a playoffs by a defenseman. But he deserved the Smythe. He deserved it. He was just brilliant.
More on Cale Makar and awards later.
Yeah. Nathan MacKinnon was Nathan MacKinnon, again, proving that he's one of the best playoff performers of this generation. He might end up being one of the best playoff performers of all time when it's all said and done. Tampa not having Braden Point hurt. Tampa, they ended up being gassed. They ended up having some injuries. But you know what? I got to give a lot of credit to Tampa, as much as I don't like a lot of the guys on their team. They went through a lot. They played a lot of playoff hockey over the last few seasons, and they still managed to make this a series when Colorado was well rested and Tampa Bay was not after a long series with the Rangers. Mm-hmm. So good on Colorado to take advantage of it. And then Tampa, I mean, let's see what happens going forward with them from here. More on that in a little bit as well. So,
yeah. And would you happen to say, I think this is actually the biggest storyline that's going to come out of Colorado's offseason, is that Joe Sakic, by the way, Conn Smythe Trophy winner and two-time Stanley Cup champion for the Avalanche as well. But Joe Sakic, as the president and GM, needs to sit down with Nate MacKinnon and say, what are we paying you? Because we need to know, so that way where you don't budget themselves this offseason trying to re-sign guys. You could possibly re-sign all these guys that they have as free agents, like Nazem Kadri. But if Nate MacKinnon's salary is doubled next year, which it very well might, that's going to be a huge problem, Filk.
Here's the issue. Nazem Kadri is going to look for Mika Zibanejad money. And rightfully so. He scored at a pace of 100 points this year, 87, I believe, points in 71 games.
You are correct.
Yeah, and he's definitely looking for at least Mika Zibanejad money, and he's going to get it from somebody. I don't think the Avalanche are going to be the team to do it, but I think he's going to get that from somebody, and he does deserve that type of money. The thing is that you have Alex Newhook waiting in the wings. And Alex Newhook was the 16th overall pick that Jeff Gorton wanted from Joe Sakic at the 2019 draft, funny enough, for Chris Kreider, because they wanted to deal Chris Kreider at that draft, and they were that close to a deal. But Joe Sakic refused to move that 16th overall pick because he had his eyes on Alex Newhook and figured he would be available at that pick. So Alex Newhook is the guy that's going to be kind of the in-house replacement for Nazem Kadri. He looks like he could be ready sooner than later. There might be a little bit of a struggle with him next year. He's not going to put up anywhere close to what Kadri did this year, but Alex Newhook could jump into that offense and realistically put up, I would say, 40 to 50 points next year. Colorado isn't going to lose much stride, and they're going to keep the cap. I mean, you just re-signed Gabriel Landeskog to a $7 million a year deal. Mm-hmm. Mikko Rantanen's under contract for at least another few years at 9.5, I believe. Then Cale Makar's contract obviously kicks in. I mean, Nate MacKinnon's going to get at least, I would say, $11 million, if not closer to 12. I hear Colorado Avalanche fans talking about, McKinnon's going to stay. He's going to take a discount to stay.
Nope.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that, because those words get tossed around so often, and very rarely does that actually happen.
And Phil, you and I both know this. Who was the head of I almost said the Major League Baseball Players Association because that's where I'm going. But who is the head of the NHLPA? Donald Fehr. Donald Fehr knows about raising salaries. And when you got the top guy on the market and Nate McKinnon, if he hit the open market, he'd be saying he honestly believes this. And so does Scott Boras, by the way, who is the baseball super agent, that you're not negotiating for your contract. You're negotiating for the next guy's contract. That's what the union wants you to do. So Nate McKinnon, he might be the most humble guy in the world, and he might just be the most competitive guy, and he might say, yeah, every player, yes. Some guys take a discount, but not that much.
I was just gonna bring up the Artemi Panarin situation. Artemi Panarin took less from the Rangers as opposed to the Islanders and some other teams to go play for the Rangers. How much less was that? $500K?
Yeah, I think it was even less. I think, yeah, actually, you know what? It was $500K. You're right.
It was about It was about give or take $500K.
I mean, I started thinking about it. I'm going, no, you're right. My math was off.
How many million is Nate McKinnon going to leave on the table? Because you got to remember that adds up over years, and so you're looking at $500K over 8 years is $4 million right there. Yeah, $4 million. So that's is he really going to leave $4 million on the table? Is he going to leave? And anyone that tries to think that you're getting Nathan McKinnon under $10 million, I mean, that's wishful thinking. Good luck to you. I don't think it's happening, but if they do, great for Colorado and good on him for wanting to keep a team together and still getting paid. But I doubt that happens. I really do.
And also it's Colorado. It's not Texas or Florida. And where I'm getting at is no state income tax. There is plenty of taxes in Texas. So there's a lot of things you have to cover with that as well. Then there's question of who's in net. Are you going with Darcy Kemper? Are you going with somebody else? Is Darcy Kemper looking for greener pastures elsewhere based upon now he's got a Stanley Cup and he has a great record with the Arizona Coyotes. The only thing that I would answer with Darcy Kemper is health. Makar's contract kicks in next year. They got a couple other guys that are on 1 or 2 more years signed. Valeri Nichushkin, he is going to get paid by the Colorado Avalanche because he's a key part with them. There's a lot of guys. Burakovsky is going to price his way out. I would think.
I think Burakovsky's gone. He scored, I believe, 61 points this year.
I actually have it for you. It was in the article. I said, what went right? Pretty much everything. Here's a list of the Colorado core that had career best seasons. Rantanen, 92 points. Kadri, 87 points. Makar, 86 points. Burakovsky, 61, as you said. Devin Taves at 57 points. And Valeri Nichushkin has, Devon, I did it again. Sorry, I have a nephew named Devin. I keep going back to that one. Anyway, sorry, Devon. He sounds like a male model. It should just be his only name. Just go with a mod on him. Anyway, Valeri Nichushkin, 52 points. And then Phil, the other thing to mention, it wasn't his career best point total, but Nate McKinnon had 1.35 points per game. Like, imagine if he played the full season. He might have been up there with all the leading scorers, the way he was going at it. I think it was 65 games, I think he had, and he had 88 points. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, 65 points in 88 games. Let's do a little math here. So 88 divided into 65 is 1.353 times 82. So yeah, that's 111 points. That would have been a career high for him. So
and easily a career high.
Yeah, and Nathan McKinnon had a great year. I mean, that whole team had a great year, and they were a stacked offense for a reason. But you're not going to be able to keep all these guys. They have right now. They have about 25,685,000 in projected cap space right now with no LTIR used. They 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forwards under contract. Nick Aube-Kubel and Arturi Lehkonen are restricted free agents.
Yes.
So they'll be back. Aube-Kubel is really like a fourth liner. He's not going to get a whole lot. Lehkonen is a guy that could get a decent amount compared to what he was getting. Kadri's gone for sure for me. Because how do you re-sign Lehkonen, Aube-Kubel, Burakovsky, Kadri, and Nichushkin?
And also, again, don't forget, you have to double McKinnon's salary.
Josh Manson's also gone. But McKinnon's not due for a contract until after this upcoming season. Like,
right, but if you sign somebody to a multi-year deal, that's going to really mess things up.
No,
you gotta know what that number is.
I get what you're saying, but here's the issue, or here's the issue with that. JT Compher and Eric Johnson both come off the books after the 2023 season. That's $9.5 million freed up. That's $9.5 million. And then the year after that, after the 2024 season, you've got to pay Devon Toews. And that's going to be a significant raise. He's going to be looking for at least, I would say, $6 million. So, I mean, Josh Manson is more than likely not back. Darcy Kemper, I don't know how they're going to be able to re-sign him too.
And that's going to be another one.
Darcy Kemper. So you have to re-sign Aube-Kubel, Lehkonen, Burakovsky, Kadri, Nichushkin, and Kemper. Six guys, that you would really want to keep back, and you have $25.685 million to do that. Personally, I don't see that happening. I think Kadri's gone. I think you could re-sign the others with that space. Maybe not, probably not Kemper. I think Kemper's going to make $6 million plus. So I think Kemper's probably gone too. But yeah, so
it's stuff that every single year a Stanley Cup champion has to deal with, because then it's becoming they start picking at who won the cup. They're got guys with Stanley Cup pedigrees that are on there, and it's what happens every single year with every sport, that they just go, that guy won a championship, get him on my team now. So can't help with that one. All right, so by the way, we want to know what you guys think. Throw your comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe on this. And also, got to tell you guys, but between every single segment, about Manscaped. And if you're using Manscaped, and there's Filk, he's got the performance, the Lawnmower 3.0 right there in his hand. Filk, what's one of your favorite features about that, to be honest? Is it the light?
The light works excellently, because sometimes, you got to go where they say the sun doesn't shine. So, yeah, you kind of need a light there. But I like the blade itself. It has no nick technology, so it actually does really work very well. Unless you're kind of being an idiot with it, you're never going to nick yourself, which is great.
Yeah.
And then it really does cut through like hair. Like you see these arms, like that's hairy. I could literally trim this off right now, and I have before, so I don't care, no shame. But yeah, it works very well. It works quickly, and it's really worth the money that you're going to pay for it. It's not totally expensive either, and definitely. And you also just remember BAH in the discount code when you're using it, 20% off and free shipping.
There you go. So guys, check it on out. And they got a whole line of products. They got the Weed Whacker, which is probably the best nose trimmer that I got. It's between that and one other thing that obviously I'm not going to mention at the moment. But it's, well, because you don't mention it while you're hawking something else. That's just stupid.
So, I thought you were talking. No, all right.
No, the nose trimmer. Yeah, because I mean, I get those noses, those hairs in the front. Those are always so terrible. So, guys, check it all out. But we got more stuff that we're going to be covering, and we're going to be doing it right now. Also, anybody that's listening on iTunes or Spotify, thank you very much, because we appreciate every time that you guys are listening, whether it's in the car or on podcast or anywhere else. So let's go to this, Filk. The Hall of Fame announced who is going in this year. There's a lot of good candidates, but the three highlights that we're going to be talking about is three Canucks, Henrik and Daniel Sedin, and goaltender Roberto Longo. By the way, Phil, do you know that Roberto Longo had 483 wins after he left the New York Islanders?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I didn't know the exact number of wins he had after he left the Islanders, but I can tell you right now, Roberto Longo is absolutely one of the best goaltenders to ever play the game. And he was a top prospect. At the time when he was drafted by the Islanders, he was talked about being the greatest goaltending prospect since Patrick Waugh. People were saying that he's going to be the next great goaltender, and they were all right. They were all right about him. He ended up being that guy. 483 wins is nothing to sneeze at. That's got to be.
I believe it was 487. 487 total.
487 total?
Yeah, he only had 4 with the Islanders.
That's crazy how he had only 4 wins with the Islanders.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious because I want to see this because this is crazy to think about. But 489 wins. To be correct.
Oh, my bad.
He had 7 with
double checking.
He went 7-14-1 with the Islanders.
Damn it.
But yeah, so it's just incredible to think that, at 36 years old, he had a 35-win season and took the Florida Panthers back to the playoffs. I mean, at 38 years old, he won 18 games and had a .929 save percentage at 38 years old. That's incredible.
.929 is immense. That is outstanding.
Immense at that age. That's not even right. Henrik Lundqvist wasn't even doing that at that age. So, but Luongo is one of the best to ever play the game. I mean, in net, he's just great guy, funny on Twitter. He deserves it. And the Sedin twins, what else is there to say about these guys? What else is there to say? 1070 points for Henrik in 1,330 games. And for Daniel, 1041 in 1,306, including 393 goals. They were 2 of the best players of their generation. Henrik had 830 career assists. I mean, these guys went 1 and 2 overall. The shenanigans and the chicanery that Brian Burke pulled to get the 2 of them in the 1999 draft, basically sending out a bunch of smoke signals amongst other GMs and fooling them into thinking that they weren't worth those 2 picks. Good on you, Brian Burke. That's just hilarious how that worked. And then they were just great. I mean, you could go through a highlight reel of their plays, and it kind of almost mirrors someone like Pavel Datsyuk with the stuff that they used to do together, the 2 of them. So you think about it. I mean, each one of them has a scoring trophy, which is just great for, Henrik has the, and he won the Hart in 2010 along with the Ross, and Daniel won the 2011 Ross and the Pearson, and then won the King Clancy in 2018. So, I mean, oh yeah, and Olympic gold medal of Sweden in 2006.
Yes. And we're going to get back to the Olympic gold medals in a minute, because I know what some people might be saying with, but they never won a cup, blah, blah, blah. But it's called the Hockey Hall of Fame for a reason. It's not the NHL Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So there's lots of players that have made it without being great. If you guys noticed me smiling right there, is Phil caught me in an error just a minute ago, and I got him right now, because he said the Sedins went 1 and 2 overall. They didn't. They went 2 and 3.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all right, because Phil, this is the reason why I'm asking you. Do you know who went 1, 4, and 5 in that draft?
1, 4, and 5. Patrick Stefan went 1.
Correct.
Number 4 in 99. Who selected 4? The Rangers took Pavel Brendel at 4.
Correct.
And 5 in that draft was what team was that?
I can tell you the team.
What's the team?
New York Islanders.
Oh, that was Tim Connolly, I believe.
And he's got it.
Yeah.
So yes. And then I believe it was 3 picks later, the Rangers got Jamie Lundmark instead. Yeah. And the best player involved in those trades, because the Rangers traded with the Calgary Flames, ended up being Marc Savard. And Jan Hlavich had a better career as a New York Ranger than Jamie Mark did, or Pavel Brendel for that matter. So the Rangers got back Jan Hlavich in that. Okay.
And you want a funny little tidbit about Jan Hlavich and Pavel Brendel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jan Hlavich.
Well, besides that, they went for the Eric Lindros deal.
Well, they were also dealt to, or almost dealt to, another team for another superstar player that same offseason. Do you remember who that superstar player was?
You know I do, because I made a whole video about it for you. That would be Jaromir Jagr.
Yep. Craig Patrick pulled the plug on the deal and then turned around and dealt him to Washington for a nothing package of Chris Beach, Michael Civic, and Ross Lupashuk. Oh, and František Kuchera as well for Jaromir Jagr.
And
how did that work out for you, Pittsburgh?
You always see it in the scroll at the bottom, but that was in our what if series. There's still some more what ifs that we have that we can make right now. I still want to make one of what if John Tavares stayed with the New York Islanders, but this was one of Filk's first ones. And the second one, of course, was the what if the Rangers drafted Brian Getzlaf instead of Hugh Jessamine. And that was also an insightful one. So go ahead, check out the what if series that we have. We still have many more of those to go. And it actually makes more sense than the Marvel what ifs, to be honest with you. But still, that's a different story. Filk, going back to this. So you have Roberto Longo with 489 wins and a gold medal. Because there's two goaltenders I think about with this. And I'm going to say the second one for the next question. But out of the people that are first time eligibles next year, who is going to make the Hall of Fame? And there's your list. So
I mean, Henrik Lundqvist is absolutely making it, and I don't think anybody else deserves to make it.
Really? All right.
No,
I think Justin Williams is going to find his way in there one day. I don't think it's going to be exactly.
I don't think Justin Williams should. It's not just the. All right, so is 797 points really Hall of Fame worthy in 1,264 career games?
Short answer, no, it's not.
Okay. Three-time Cup winner. Okay, Cups are team statistics. They're not an individual player statistic.
And one-time Conn Smythe.
And he won a Conn Smythe. Okay, so he had a bunch of clutch playoff goals throughout his career. Yeah, great. That's awesome. But at the same time, why would he get in? And here, I'm gonna give you some names, and I'm gonna give you some stats with them. So, Pat Verbeek won a Stanley Cup in '99 with Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
He ended his career with 522 goals, 1,062 points in 1,424 games. Why should Justin Williams get in over a guy that scored almost 200 more goals than him and 300 more points? Almost 300.
Almost 300 more points, you said. Yeah.
So why does he deserve to get in? Why does he deserve to get in over Pierre Turgeon, who scored 515 career goals, 1,327 career points in 1,294 career games, won a Lady Byng in 1992-93, had a 50-goal, 132-point year that year, 58 goals to be exact. Why does he deserve to get in over any of those guys? And there are other guys that are still not even in there that we haven't even talked about. Why does he?
And we're going to save those for the next question, by the way, in a second.
Well, yeah.
But so we're going to save that for the next question. But obviously it's Henrik Lundqvist, a guy that has handled his career with grace and just an absolute picture of class. And you run out of superlatives to say if he was on this New York Ranger team in his prime, he would put up numbers like Igor. So that's just, that's what I personally think. And let's not forget, he won a Vezina in an offensive era with a goals against under 2. So that's not easy to do. And this guy, I mean, Henrik Lundqvist probably played goal in New York at the most difficult time for anybody in their career. Maybe Eddie Giacomin can say otherwise, playing up against Bobby Orr in the playoffs because they couldn't get past the Bruins. But the Henrik Lundqvist had to deal with Alexander Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby in their primes. And then there were so many things. And he put up the most wins of a European goaltender. So there you go. Henrik Lundqvist is in. But by the way, no Jay Bouwmeester, no Brent Seabrook for you.
Why would Jay Bouwmeester be in there?
They gave up his that he's got Olympic titles. Forgot what the NHL. I'm looking up the NHL Network said about him right now.
Jay Bouwmeester,
Triple Crown gold winner. He won a Stanley Cup, World Cup, and an Olympic gold. That's the highlights. Jay Bouwmeester was good. I think he was great.
Bouwmeester got a cup, and did he even play? Well, he played during that run, but I don't even think he played in the finals.
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm not even sure.
I honestly don't think he played in the. Okay, so, oh no, he did play in the finals. Okay, never mind. He played 26 games. Okay, so it was the year after that he didn't.
David, 100% right on that one.
But 424 points, 88 goals in 1,240 games. He wasn't regarded as one of the best defenders in his generation. I mean, he looked like he was going to be a great defender for a very long time in his early years of Florida. Like those first few years back from the lockout, he looked like he was on a trajectory with Florida to become one of the great defensemen. We're getting an echo on your end, Mark.
Oh, all right. I'll just mute real quick. I don't have any window. Well, I mean, I have the window open, but it's on mute on that one, so we shouldn't be getting anything.
Yeah,
still getting an echo?
No, not right now. Not that I can hear.
Well, Phil, you know what? Let's go right to the next thing. In who is not in the Hall of Fame that should be?
Pierre Turgeon.
Agreed.
Must. Alexander McGillney is absolutely a must. Jeremy Roenick is a must.
It boggles my mind how Jeremy Roenick is not in the Hall of Fame.
There's a couple of guys. If you allow me to just pull up a list real quick here.
Sure, go right ahead. Like Keith Tkachuk isn't in the Hall of Fame.
You know what? He's a good case. I just wonder, really, like, I would personally. I could see why they wouldn't, but I could see why he should be as well. I mean, Joe Thornton will be soon enough. I mean, 1,539 career points, 12th all time in scoring, and
obviously Patrick Marleau's going in.
I don't think Marleau should go in.
Really? Okay.
I don't. I don't think of him as one of the best players of his generation. I don't think of him as a top 10, 20 player of his generation. I could think of 20 players from his generation that were probably better than him. He wasn't the best player on his team. He won no individual awards. He didn't win a cup. The only reason why he's going to be in there is probably because of the fact that he, basically broke Gordie Howe's games played record. And yeah, that's great. But for probably about two of those years, maybe three, he was a shell of himself, and he was kind of just. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't agree with it, but I mean, definitely Turgeon is actually the only retired player in the top 40 in scoring that's not in the Hall of Fame. I would argue Bernie Nichols. Vinny Damphousse is another. Like, if you're going to put in Patrick Marleau, then Bernie Nichols and Vinny Damphousse absolutely have to go in.
Yeah, and I have trouble with Bernie Nichols and Vincent Damphousse. I like them both as players. Damphousse, I actually think, is a better player than Nichols, but I would have trouble putting them in the Hall of Fame. And I'm a light grader.
I mean, I could see why people would be hesitant to put Bernie Nichols in there, but Bernie Nichols is a member of the 70 goal and 150 point clubs. Or so I mean that's a pretty exclusive list. He has 3 100-point seasons, 1,200 points, and he retired with over a point per game in his career. That's really good.
Yeah.
So, but I could see why you'd be hesitant to Vinny Damphousse. But Vinny Damphousse was, for a very long time, a very consistent player. He was very productive and
very good two-way guy.
So,
and you know what? I mentioned it in the video. The old video I did on this channel that goes all the way back to best moments in USA hockey history. Where in the '96 World Cup, or I think it was called the World Cup of Hockey. Then it wasn't called the Canada Cup, but
it was World Cup of Hockey.
It was World Cup of Hockey. Okay, good. Damphousse pulls out that breakaway move that he used on Richter in the '96 playoff, and Richter completely robbed him. And it wasn't, and he was still pretty much fooled. That was where Richter had to jump over and get the stick down on it, but that was where he was able to get that. Again, going back to Jeremy Roenick, 500 goals, one of the best American players of all time. I understand that's not something to grade on. I mean, I know he never won a Stanley Cup, but Jeremy Roenick was one of the best in the league.
Jeremy Roenick in the early to mid 90s was one of the very, very, very best players in the league. Like Patrick Marleau, Patrick Marleau was nowhere near as close to being the best player in hockey as Jeremy Roenick was during that time.
And if you don't believe us, play NHL hockey on the Sega Genesis.
I was going to say something about that, but I mean, but Jeremy Roenick had back-to-back 50-goal, 100-point seasons. He had 3 straight years, I believe, of 40 goals. I believe there were 3 straight years of 100 points as well. I think it was 92, 93, and 94 were all 100-point seasons for Roenick. I mean, he was one of the best players in the game. There's no reason why Jeremy Roenick shouldn't be in. If you're going to let why is Justin Williams even up on the ballot? That's what I want to know.
Well, I think they mentioned that he's going to be eligible next year. Not even that he's on the ballot. I think that's just the NHL Network just promoting their guy.
Listen, another guy that deserves to be in, and I'm actually really, really shocked that he's not, is Rod Brendamorn.
A matter of fact, David put that up in the comments just now. And I got to agree with you on that. I thought Rod Brendamorn had a great career, but you know what? He does fall into that.
David. It was Lauren Darkin.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, Lauren.
I didn't even see that. I wasn't even looking at the chat. But
I wasn't even looking at the chat. I have the other window open, so I can look at the poll question that's on there. Which, by the way, right now our poll question is at 50-50. It is, should the New York Rangers re-sign Andrew Kopp? So we're going to be more on that in a moment. But or should or will they? It's either one. But the other, but now I'm just regaining my thought on this. By the way, Filk did all that stats from up here. He didn't need to go Google that for a second. So it's again, when I think about guys like that, like John LeClair's not going to make it because I don't think overall his career,
no, his numbers aren't good enough.
Was able to be there. But Tkachuk was one of the best USA goal scorers of all time. I mean, I do question about Mike Richter. Mike Richter, who 300 wins. 300 wins isn't good enough?
No, not anymore.
All right. So Roberto Longo is in. He has 489 wins. Henrik Lundqvist, we think he's going to make it there. I believe the final number on Hank was it 459?
I think. Hold on, I'd have to look that.
Yeah, I forgot the exact number. I went on without that. But Filk, one of the guys, Henrik Lundqvist,
459. Sorry,
it is 459. All right, I did have it right. One of the guys that Henrik Lundqvist dethroned or he passed in his final year is Curtis Joseph. Curtis Joseph has an ungodly amount of wins. He's not a Hall of Famer to you?
No, he should be. He
Okay.
should be. I mean, that one I don't get.
I am
mean,
shocked when I saw that one.
he retired top 5 all time in wins. He was one of the better goalies of his generation. You think about it. During his generation, I could name the number of goalies that were like flat out better than him on like one hand, and it was Waugh, it was Belfour, Hasek, Brodeur, and then who else could you really say that was flat out better than Curtis Joseph?
For his career, I wouldn't say it. Individual seasons, there were times Mike Richter was better. That was it. It was individual seasons.
I'm talking career.
Career wise, it was. And the funny part was the Rangers nearly replaced Mike Richter with Curtis Joseph in the 97 offseason. So
yeah.
that's kind of like an oddity that was right there. You know, honestly, I don't understand how Curtis Joseph's not in. That guy, I without even looking, he's got to be top 10 save percentage all time career wise.
And that was always the thing with Curtis Joseph. Curtis Joseph always played better with the more shots he faced. It seemed like those games where he wasn't facing a lot of shots was when he was letting up the bad goals, and it was just like, okay, like I need to see more rubber. Like let me, let more pucks fly my way, and I'll start playing better. But like this was a guy that played on a lot of teams that were not great in front of him. He never, like until he got to Detroit, he never played behind a great team. He played with St. Louis, and St. Louis in the early 90s was a good competitive team. I mean, you had for a bit, you had Adam Oates and Brett Hull together. And then when Adam Oates was traded for Craig Janney, it was Oates, or I'm sorry, Janney, Shanahan, and Hull. And I mean, who else did they really have? Like their defense, what, Jeff Brown? And they didn't have anybody great until Al McInnes came there on defense. And then Chris Pronger obviously was traded for Brendan Shanahan, and we all know how that went. But Curtis Joseph did not play behind a lot of great teams. He ended up going to Edmonton after St. Louis, and Edmonton was a bubble team that only made the playoffs because of crazy seasons from Doug Weight and Ryan Smith in different years, and then the goaltending of Curtis Joseph. And then he went to Toronto, and then it was the Curtis Joseph, Matt Sundin show, and they had guys like Sergei Berezan, Mike Johnson. No offense to you, Johnny. I like you as a broadcaster, but
love you as a broadcaster.
Yeah, I mean, where was the talent around Sundin and Curtis Joseph until maybe those couple of seasons before the 04 lockout, when they started getting the over the hill past prime guys like the Owen Nolans and Ron Francis, Ryan Leach and stuff like that, where they were bringing in those guys. But Toronto was not a great team. And then after the lockout, Curtis Joseph was in the twilight of his career by then. So,
and Sean asked a great question on this one. What is the team you think of with Curtis Joseph first?
I think of him as a Leaf. I always do, just because it's either a Leaf or a Blue for me, just because of the fact that, like, when I was growing up and I first started playing the NHL hockey games, Curtis Joseph was one of the better goalies in the video game as a St. Louis Blue. And then he had those nice runs as a Leafs goaltender. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals in '99 before they ran into the Buffalo Dominic Haseks and lost to them. But I'd have to think of Joseph as a Leaf.
Actually, and I have him as a Blue in my mind and a Leaf, like, tied. But you know what? Think about him in Edmonton. He pulled off one of the greatest upsets of all time. And I do mean the words, he pulled it off. It is one of the rare times that a goalie just comes out and says, I know it's a team sport, but nah, they're not winning. And beating Edmonton in Game 7.
Dallas.
Edmonton beating Dallas, who I believe they were the number one seed in the West that year.
He robbed Joe Nieuwendyk on that what should have been a goal. When he robbed Joe Nieuwendyk, that was one of the greatest saves I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And Curtis Joseph had no business making that save, but he did. He did. He willed Edmonton over Dallas.
And again, by the way, when we talk about Alexander McGillney and you talk about the Hockey Hall of Fame, the contributions internationally are in there. And him being the first Russian to defect in 1989, easy to remember, it was his jersey number. It was that's immense. That's huge. Granted, it didn't help Slava Fetisov coming over because he was trying to negotiate his way over, and then McGillney defected. And then if you ever see the Red Army documentary, that delayed him a few more years as well.
But so I don't get how he's not in that. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But
yeah, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. All right, guys. And yep, the NHL hockey games, Curtis Joseph as a blue, always my thought. All right. So guys, once again, who is your thoughts on who should be in the Hall of Fame? Who's not? Who's going to make it next year other than Henrik Lundqvist? Henrik Lundqvist is in. There's no way Henrik Lundqvist doesn't make it on his first ballot. Unfortunately, Henrik Lundqvist is the Dan Marino of hockey. I mean, more so than Jerome McGinley, I think, because he only played one team. But that's a different story. I'm going to get away from that because we're going to go into another segment. Once again, everybody, don't forget to check out Manscaped and go to manscaped.com. Get the performance package. Get 20% off in shipping when you put in the promo code BAH. So, and also, by the way, we do have a partnership with betus.com as well. And that is, that's in the link below that you can get a bonus on that. And let's click all this out. And guys, let's do some bar talk.
I'm going to take a shot on this one.
I'm going to say beer.
I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh my God.
I know I have to update that for so many reasons. One is we got thin svelte Filk right over there. And very svelte. And then we also have a brand new logo that we're actually debuting today. If you guys see it in the top right corner.
Probably make it a little larger.
Yeah, well, it's for the watermark. It's one of those things. We're gonna be we're having hats and jerseys coming on out soon enough. But guys, everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk, where we are gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you not so confident? Oh my God, I just need a shot. Are you so then you just want a beer? Or are you so confident you're going to buy everybody around at the bar? Come on. I'll be doing that a little bit at the Wanto Inn later because I'm going to up to go see a couple friends of mine tonight. You know what, David? The whole yeah. By the way, that's how you know I'm really worked up when I did buying everybody around. Anyway. Folks, so we're going to start with the one that is the poll question of the day, and I am actually going to close that poll right now when you're talking. But the New York Rangers will lose Andrew Copp.
I got a feeling that it's going to happen. I'm going to say beer, and I'm kind of leaning towards shot because there's a rumor we're going to talk about in a little bit. I know some of the commenters have mentioned it, and it's been going around. I posted about it on Twitter earlier. I'm gonna go beer, but I am starting to lean towards shot with this. And to be honest with you, you know what? I don't mind it. I think he fits better as a wing. They need a center, and I think the organization knows this. I think they need someone who's going to come in and help be a real difference maker. Andrew Copp is a very good player. I do like Andrew Copp, but I'm not giving Andrew Copp $6 million or whatever he's looking for to stay here as a winger. Like he has played center. He can play center, but he's another one that, face-offs are not a strong suit. And I really wonder about how effective he would be as a center. So I'm gonna say beer, but I'm leaning towards round.
I'm actually going to buy around on this one because I'm going to go the opposite of what you're saying. not focusing on what the Rangers think about him, I think you're going to get teams like Detroit, like Boston, like all these other teams, maybe even like there's going to be teams that are going to be throwing some money at him, especially ones with lots of cap space. Let's say like the Buffalo Sabres that have a ton of cap space. But I look at the Detroit Red Wings, of course, because that he's from Michigan. I think Detroit's going to start coming out of their rebuild this offseason. It's sort of like the way the Rangers did in 2019, signing Artemi Panarin, trading, and then signing for Jacob Trouba to, let's just say, not so favorable deal. And they're ready to compete. I think people want to get Andrew Kopp. And then it does have to do with the Rangers' budget. I'm not sure if the Rangers can really afford to keep him, especially when you have, at the moment, $6 million worth of cap space. At the moment, they will be making some trades to open up that, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Filk, Barry Trotz announced that he's going to take a year off from coaching. So my question is, the Islanders handled the Barry Trotz dismissal right?
Shot. I really don't understand what they were thinking in letting him go. He's the second best coach, and I've said this, he's the second best coach in this team's history. You finally find a coach that has a winning formula, and I get it. There are concerns with him in developing young players, his handling of Oliver Wahlstrom. I get it. I had the same concerns about Gallant with the way that he's handled Capo Caco and Alexis Lafreniere, Filipino, so on. But I just don't get what you're doing with this, because now you have the coach that implemented the system. And yes, Lane Lambert is really his protege. I get it. But a lot of the times the sequels are never as good as the originals. And that goes for sports too. Maybe Lane Lambert ends up being a great fit, and he ends up being a very good coach, and he ends up being the chip off the block that the Islanders are looking for. But this is just to me, this is not a good move. It's not a good move at all. And I just don't think they should have let him go, because there were a bunch of extenuating circumstances that led to them having the season that they had. And it wasn't Trotz's fault that these guys just couldn't pull through with having to deal with how many guys out on COVID. They were icing an AHL team at one point in November. The season start that they have, where they were on the road for 13 straight games. I mean, that's not going to help anybody at all. And it feels like Trotz was a scapegoat, and Lou's comments definitely don't sit right with me. If you're an Islander fan, I don't think they should sit right with you either. That's just my opinion, but something seemed awfully wrong about the way this was handled.
I'm going to go right back to it and say shot as well with you. And I'll keep my answer a little bit short, because I think you outlined everything pretty much perfectly. But with the amount of success Barry Trotz had for the New York Islanders, second best coach in their history, there are reports it was more mutual than what we think. That is a possibility. But I do have to say, Filk, this is one thing where if it was mutual in any way, and supposedly he recommended Lane Lambert to get the job because they didn't want to lose him to Detroit as a coach. That was another rumor that's out there. However you want to say it, why wasn't there a press conference? Why wasn't there a press conference with Lou shaking Barry's hand, saying thank you very much? There's a mutual parting. You could say they did him a solid and they fired him, and now he's getting a paycheck next year, no matter what. But still, the dismissal, no, it's not handled right. It wasn't handled right. And hopefully when Barry comes back in any way, shape, or form, there's a way to honor him for the New York Islander fans. And this is why we wish we had Anthony on to get his opinion on this. But yeah, that's something that even, look, no matter what team you might be a fan of, but we're also pundits, and we also know about this guy as one of the nicest guys in all of hockey. So no, they did not handle that one right, even though it looks like Barry wanted to take a year off. It's just what it is. Filk, let's go back to the Stanley Cup Finals. Colorado will win another Stanley Cup within the next 3 years.
I can't say round, but I'm going to say beer.
Okay.
Because I do think that this team has prospects that can step in for the guys that they're going to lose. I wonder what they do with somebody like Artturi Lehkonen. I mean, they gave up picks for him at the deadline. Not a ton, but I think they're going to want to keep him around because he's going to be good, affordable middle six depth, considering that they're probably going to lose someone like Andrei Burakovsky. Maybe they lose Valerian Nichushkin. I doubt they want him because he's a really good defensive player and he put up 50 points. And he probably could put up more points in an increased role with more ice time. But I think that they're going to have multiple chances because their defense core, you look at it, Bowen Byram is only going to get better. He's capable of being a top pairing defenseman one day. Devon Taves is one of the better defensemen in the league. He's really grown since not even just since leaving the Islanders, but like over the last, I would say 4 years, Devon Taves' game has just grown so immensely. He's really turned himself into an upper level defenseman. And then you have Sam Girard. You could turn around and deal him for something this offseason. Maybe if they want to go get forward help. And then if they wanted to keep Josh Manson at that point, they could keep Josh Manson if they decide to move on from Sam Girard. We've heard that name floated around for a while now that they would be looking to deal him. They won a Stanley Cup basically without him. They won without him. So do they really need him? But Colorado has options. They have pieces, and they're going to have the ability to manage the cap just fine. So yeah, I'm going to say beer.
I'm going to go right there with you on beer. And because the other aspect is you have to look at the teams that are around them. I'm very close to buying everybody around on this because I don't think Minnesota is going to be able to improve to the point where they can beat them right now.
Nope. They're going to be in cap hell.
St. Louis is, I think, the next best team to them.
But what happens?
Let's just say we have reservations. What
happens with Vladimir Tarasenko?
That's a big question.
You know, you're going to have to worry about that. There are other things. Which
Jordan Binnington shows up?
The Binnington-Husso conundrum in net. I mean, you got to worry about that too if you're St. Louis. Vegas. Does Vegas rebound?
There's another one. I mean, because now they're going to have Bruce Cassidy behind the bench. So I got to go with Vegas rebounding. Definitely.
Yeah.
The Dallas Stars are going to have Pete DeBoer. They're going to get better. And I'm very critical on Pete DeBoer, not in seasons 1 and 2. Seasons 1 and 2, Pete DeBoer is a great coach for whatever team you get him for. Almost a la John Tortorella.
It's a Lane Vigneault, the same thing. Seasons 1 and 2, it looks very good, and then it's just after that, you know. But Anaheim is going to be on the way up. They're not close yet, though, and they could deal John Gibson this offseason. LA, not really there yet, but I mean, they have some pieces that could bring them on the rise, but they also have a guy like Anze Kopitar who's aging. So they're not
But the other question then, Phil, becomes, what about that team with those 2 really good players in the upper Northwest? Does Jay Woodcroft finally know what to do with Edmonton? Have they bought into a brand new system? Can they get goaltending?
Ken Holland fix their goaltending problems? Will Ken Holland actually get them a defenseman? These are really questions with Edmonton. So, I mean, if you can answer those questions, then they could become a juggernaut real quick and they can end up derailing Colorado. But, I mean, that management there is just not good. So, I have my doubts about Edmonton.
And sadly, there's one team I did not mention that I predicted to win the Stanley Cup. And they're going to be dismantled come July 13th when Johnny Gaudreau leaves. So the Calgary Flames, man, what a job Darryl Sutter did, and I can't believe that they came up empty. We're going to switch to the opponents in the Stanley Cup Finals. Tampa's reign is over. Filk, I'm going to go beer, and the reason why is because if you recall, and I told you about it this week, and it'll be in our predictions video where we're going to do a recap of our first year at the end of this at the end of the month, probably maybe even the beginning of August when there isn't much to talk about. But in our preseason prediction, the man right over here that way said, "Who's your Stanley Cup final?" Filk said, "Tampa over Colorado in 6 games. If Tampa gets another defenseman or possibly 2 forwards, they can be very dangerous." Well, they got the 2 forwards. They're going to lose Nick Paul. I don't see that any way that they keep him. But that's what Julian Breezeball is going to do. He's got his core, he's got his tweaks, and he just needs to fill it in a little bit, and they could be just as dangerous next year. John.
I don't know, because their cap situation is a weird one. I mean, you have 1 year left if Anthony Cirelli at $4.8 million. Then he's going to ask for a raise.
He's going to
Alex Warren is at 4.45. He's got a modified no trade clause. I believe is it a 10-team deal? I'm just trying to see how many teams he has the block.
Oh, Alex Killorn is on Tampa Bay? I didn't notice him in the Stanley Cup Finals whatsoever.
Yeah. He has a 16-team no trade list, so he can veto trades to half the teams in the league, but he doesn't have a no movement clause. Here's the most interesting thing, and although I don't think it's going to happen, I actually think it would probably be in Tampa Bay's best interest to do this and kind of start to retool. Trade Steven Stamkos. See if he'll lift that no movement clause. He's 32 years old. He has 2 years left on his deal. He's still highly productive. If you can get
best
him,
season of his career, by the way, this year, arguably.
Yeah, well, I mean, points wise, yeah, he was, yeah. But if you move him, you can get a haul for him still. You clear up $8.5 million in cap space. You can then keep both Andre Palat and possibly even Nick Paul if you can also move Alex Killorn. So you can keep a lot of the depth, but you're going to be losing one of your 2 impact players, or one of your 3 biggest impact forwards, I should say. Maybe if you want to say your 3 biggest impact players overall, you could. But yeah, I would revisit those talks that came about like a year or 2 ago when they were asking about Stamkos moving his no movement clause. So I would try to see if they can move him, but I do think that we're coming very, very close to the end, if not the end. So I'm going to say Beer here, but I'm leaning towards Shot.
Yeah, I mean, that core is still in place. And then, of course, if you move on from Stamkos, then it just frees up the money, and then Braden Point just is right there. They've already won a Stanley Cup without Stamkos. Go ahead.
Tampa Bay doesn't have prospects. They drained their cupboard in the Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul trades.
Yeah, all they got left is Cal Foote. Cal
Foote is it, and Cal Foote can step in and play defense and everything. But I mean, there's nobody really on. They're going to lose Jan Ruda probably, which Jan Ruda underrated. I think really a decent defenseman. He's going to go somewhere and he's going to get a decent chunk of change to be a defensive guy for a team. But no draft capital, as David is saying here. They're in the gutter. So if they had prospects to step right in, yeah, I would be a little higher on them, but I really worry about what they're going to be able to do with not having the prospects to do it.
Well, here's the thing. Their prospects, as far as they go, they're all here. Ross Colton isn't going to get a raise yet. No. There's a couple other guys. What do they got for cap space?
Like nothing.
Okay. Then obviously they're going to lose Nick Paul. They got Brandon Hagel for next year.
They're actually in the negative by $1.983 million.
Oh, who'd have thought Tampa Bay would be over the cap?
And Tampa Bay have a first round pick this year in 2022. They don't have a second round pick, a third round pick. They don't have their own fourth round pick. They have Chicago's. And yeah, they don't have a first round pick in 2023 or 2024. and they don't have a second-round pick next year in 2023. So their draft capital is just, man, they got ravaged.
Yeah. But even still, the team as is, all you got to do is figure out maybe one defenseman, possibly two, and then a third line center, and then they're right back in it again. Because that's them. That's what Tampa does. And
but where's the space? That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. They're gonna have to do it. They're gonna have to figure out a way to do it from within. Maybe Ross Colton moves to center, and then you have to figure out a winger. So then, yeah, it goes with that. But let's go around. Let's start talking some trade stuff. And you know what? I had this one listed a little bit lower, but we got to talk about last week and the NHL awards, which all deserving candidates, and everybody won. That being said, Filk, Roman Josi was robbed the Norris this year. And I'm going to start this one again, Filk. It's 100%. He is definitely robbed. Look, Cale Makar will win a Norris trophy in his lifetime. So I have no problem with him winning one in general. And Roman Josi's already got one. But Roman Josi deserved it this year. 96 points. He had 96 points. The one thing I could say for Cale Makar is that plus 48 is gaudy. But again, Roman Josi led his team. No other defenseman. If he had 4 more points, no other defenseman ever had 100 points and led his team. It drives me crazy because I said at the beginning of the year, we were talking about predictions, that they're just going to hand it to Cale Makar no matter what. Filk, I leave the rest to you.
Well, the last defenseman to score 90 points in a season was Ray Bourque in 1994, and he did not lead his team in scoring. Adam Oates did. The defenseman that's had I should say, Roman Josi's had the most points in a season by a defenseman since Phil Housley in 1993. Phil Housley didn't have a 76-goal, 132-point rookie sensation named Teemu Selanne playing with him. Roman Josi did not have that. Phil Housley did. And Roman Josi led his team in scoring. He finished higher than Cale Makar in points. Roman Josi played on a team with less depth, with less talent. Roman Josi had only 2 other players in the top, I would say, 40 in scoring, with Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene, who Matt Duchene had an incredible year, best year of his career, 40-plus goals, 80-plus points. But Cale Makar was actually he didn't lead his team in scoring. And Nathan McKinnon basically had as many points as he had, or actually he had 2 more points. I'm sorry. He had 88.
He had one more. Oh, wait, no, 2 more. No, you're right.
No, 2 more. Nazem Kadri had 1 more.
Had 1 more, yeah. That's why I had to quickly fix that answer.
Yeah, and then Mikko Rantanen had 92. And then you had Gabriel Landeskog, who was also in the top 50 in scoring. So why is it that Makar, who is a lesser defender in his own zone, had less points, had more help, got the Norris over Roman Josi? And the ballots to me were just unreal. Like there were ballots that didn't even have Roman Josi in the top 3 in the voting. Like somebody voted Charlie. I love Charlie McAvoy. Everybody knows I love Charlie McAvoy. But how are you voting Charlie McAvoy over Roman Josi this year? I'm sorry. No offense if Charlie somehow would stumble across this. Charlie, I love you, but I even imagine you would have to admit that Roman Josi
we love you. Long Beach strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Pride of Long Beach. But, like, Roman Josi he was the best defender. Their Nationals offense ran through Roman Josi. Cale Makar, if he would have went down, that team would still have been a playoff team, probably still would have won their division. They were that good. And again, Cale Makar, great player, not the best defender in his own zone. So give me Roman Josi over Cale Makar.
And for that matter, I mean, look, Cale Makar more than deservingly won the Conn Smythe, one of the best seasons of a defenseman in NHL playoff history. He didn't deserve the Norris this year. That's my opinion. And look, it's my opinion, and I can have that, and that's it. He's gonna win a Norris. You didn't need to give it to him right now. Come on, people. It's what you just need to do.
I don't understand. Yeah, I just, and this is another thing that just really bothered me. Like here, like, how is it that Taves was top 3 in some ballots as well with Makar? Like, how, like, really, like, why are these guys not taking votes away from each other?
That drives me crazy whenever that stuff comes up. And I really want to say how much that drives me crazy. Number one, first and foremost, before anything else, I'll go back to the 2000 National League MVP for baseball, because Jeff Kent won it. Number 2 was Barry Bonds. Number 3 was Mike Piazza. If number 2 is the second best player, he can't be the most valuable player. Sorry, that's just the way it is. It should have been split votes. The other guy takes it, the way it was in 1988 when Darryl Strawberry and Kevin McGrath split votes and Kirk Gibson won it. Yes, back to hockey now. So it's just, you're right about that 100%. And how is Devin Taves in the top 3 for Norris? Please. Now I forget. Do the GMs do that one, or do the writers do that one?
I believe the Norris is right. The Norris is actually writers. No, because I've seen the ballots, and there were the ballots. Honestly, are some of the most brutal ballots I've ever seen in my life. I have never seen such terrible ballots from some of these writers, and it just makes me wonder what they're watching. Like, listen. As people who want to be in the media, it is hard. It is extremely hard. I get Center Ice or NHL TV, ESPN Plus, whatever out of market package there is. I get it every year. I have gotten it every year for 20 plus years now. But it is so incredibly hard to watch that much hockey while focusing on one team. It is so hard. I do not know, and I got to give all the credit in the world. I'm going to plug Shannon Scanes right now, the hockey guy. I'm going to plug him right now because he is incredible at how well his analysis is of all of these different games. He must do nothing in his life but watch hockey, because I don't know how he have the time to do that.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to get even to watch condensed games every single day, and I'm still running out of time.
There is not enough time to watch all this hockey. And I'm going to stop rambling and get to my point, but it is so hard to watch all that. But I'm going to tell you right now, these guys are definitely not watching all these games if some of these ballots are coming in the way that they're coming in, because some of the ballots, the way that they were casted, were piss poor. They were inexcusable, and they show a clear dereliction of duty of watching other games outside of their own markets. Terrible. And the system's got to change. It's got to change. You can't have guys that, right. Remember in 2012, Dan Girardi somehow got 6th place in Norris voting over Ryan McDonough when Ryan McDonough carried that pairing?
Yes. Although I thought Dan Girardi his career year was 2012. And I think he got
good that year. Yes, but Ryan McDonough had 32 points that year. You want to know how many of those came at even strength?
I think 31. I think he wasn't really the powerplay quarterback.
30. He had more even strength points than Shea Weber and Drew Doughty did that year, and Weber was a Norris finalist.
Yeah.
McDonough carried that pairing.
Wouldn't be me if I didn't kick my stand. So, by the way, Core, I would love to buy 1 million rounds. That would make me definitely one of the most popular people on the planet. And sort of like Harvey Korman in History of the World, count the money. That's the money. Count the money. The money. The money. Say it.
You look like the piss boy.
And you look like a bucket of shit. But yeah, you know what, Dom, I understand what you're saying with this. I actually don't think the players should vote on it, because then the players are going to have their favorites and they're going to do all that. Shannon, the hockey guy, is great. And yes, Yossi was robbed. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned Yossi's playing on a defensive team. Like, they're more defense than anything else. So, let's get back. We do have a couple more of these that we have. I know we have a long bar talk for you guys today. So let's go with the trade market. The New Jersey Devils need to acquire John Gibson.
I would say round. We're focusing on the word need here, right?
Yes.
So this is not a prediction of whether it's going to happen or not. So we're just going on the word need. Yeah, round,
Yeah.
absolutely round. And they need him. They need him like we need air to breathe. Mackenzie Blackwood is not the guy. He's not. Nico Dawes is obviously not the guy either. They just don't have anybody that's going to really move the needle in net. Sorry, they just don't. And until they get somebody and then they get more defensive help, they're not going to be able to take that next step. But the problem is, do they have the readily available assets that they're going to be willing to move to get somebody like John Gibson? Because I can't see them moving somebody like Jesper Bratt. I think they're going to re-sign him.
Absolutely not. Not now.
Re-sign him. I think they're going. They're not going to move Luke Hughes. I can tell you that right now. Shaq would throw a shit fit if Luke was moved. I can tell you that right now. He would not be happy. They're not going to move Nico Hischier. I can't imagine moving Nico Hischier to get John Gibson because that doesn't make sense for them unless they want to draft Shane Wright, which could happen if Bob McKenzie, who has not been wrong since 2009 about who the first overall pick is going to be. Now he's saying it's Yaroslav Slavkovsky. So,
which I think would be amazing if that happens, Phil, because the Devils are dangling, and I'm gonna just finish the sentence and get right back to your point. Devils are dangling that number 2 pick to see if somebody wants to trade up for it, so that way they can move out of that. And if the Devils end up having to get stuck with that pick, they probably don't draft Shane Wright. Shane Wright then falls to 3, and Arizona Coyotes, congratulations, you just got a franchise center, supposedly.
Well, look, I mean, Wright's draft year has not gone great. I mean, it's been productive, but they're saying that the ceilings from the guys of these drafts is like potential first liners. This is starting to remind me of 2011. This draft.
Oh, so what was the final thought? Beer or shot, or you're buying everybody, right?
No, I said round.
Okay, I think I forgot if I did that for you. By the way, Phil, I'm going to go right back to it with you. We're going to go with John Gibson. They need to get a goalie. They need to go outside the organization and get a goaltender, whether it's Darcy Kemper, whether it's Philly Husso, whether it's John Gibson, and John Gibson's right there and available for the taking. Speaking of teams that can come out of their rebuilds, the Devils are one of them. I wrote the entire article this week on the Devils, so I had the opportunity to really kind of dissect them and look at it. And I got to say, Filk was just talking about this. I wasn't following the Devils all season. I didn't know Jesper Bratt had 73 points. I thought he was a pretty good player. 73 points. This guy literally could be on the cusp of becoming a star for the Devils. And you also look at Nico Hischier enjoyed a pretty good year playing 60 games for the first time since his rookie season. And he was just about a point per game. He had 60 points. I know that too. It's 70 games he played, 60 points. But you look at everything that the Devils have going, trade that, and you could trade that number 2 draft pick and get something back. Anaheim would swoop this up in a second. Second overall pick for John Gibson. Boom. There we go. And easily they could do that. So why not go get it? All right. We got 2 more for you guys. Filk, in the news this week, Paul Maurice was named coach of the Florida Panthers, who has been a good coach in the past. He's been to a Stanley Cup final too. But Paul Maurice will have his most successful year with the Florida Panthers.
Are we just talking regular season, or are we talking regular season and playoffs?
Yes, both of them.
I'm going to say beer because you got to remember he went to a Stanley Cup Finals in 2002, and had they not run into a team that had 9 future Hall of Famers on it at the time, maybe they win that Stanley Cup. And they did it with a goaltending tandem of Artur Zerbe and Kevin Weeks. So they had a they had a pretty good year that year. So I'm going to say beer just because of the fact that I think it's going to be tough for Florida to take that next step with the brand new coach bringing in an entirely new system. It's going to be rough. They might take a step back in the standings. They still have a lot of talent. They need help on defense, and I don't know what's happening with Sergei Bobrovsky. Supposedly, they might deal him, and Spencer Knight might take over as the starter, and clearing that cap space would help them go a long way towards adding that defender. But it just seems like Florida is in kind of a weird state to be in.
Agreed on that. Now, what I have to say with this also is I think Paul Maurice is going to make him play better defense. I think Paul Maurice is going to make him more tougher mentally. Paul Maurice has been a winner at every single place he's ever coached, and it started back with the Hartford Whalers. That's how long he's been coaching. And he ends up getting Hartford to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2002, like you said before. And that was still with Brendamorn and Francis on the team. Then he gets fired, gets replaced by Peter Laviolette. And I said it right. Hey, first try. And then he ends up going back to Carolina for a few years. Gets the win.
Wait. We're recording this, right?
We are recording this, yes. And then he ends up moving on. I forgot who I don't think he coached anybody in the middle, but then he ends up going back to Carolina again, then over to Winnipeg, has a great couple of seasons in Winnipeg. Who knows what Winnipeg would have done if they didn't run into the buzzsaw known as, I can't believe I'm saying these words, the 2018 Las Vegas Golden Knights. And then moving on to, where is he going to go now? You go to the Florida Panthers. This team has got, this team makes the Jets of 2018 look like hacks as far as the talent level goes. So, yeah, I think I got some confetti. Yeah, I got some confetti. Mark pronounced the name right on the first try. And so, I mean, Paul Maurice, I'm actually going to buy everybody around on this. I think he might make another Stanley Cup final. I think this team might win a Stanley Cup with him at the helm. And it sounds kind of funny to say like that because you're in. It is a lot harder to win the East right now than it is in the West.
Close. They are close. It's just like I said, it's a matter of what moves they make, really.
But I got to tell you, one thing that stuck out about the Florida Panthers in the playoffs: 2 power play goals. That's all they had.
Yeah, inexcusable.
Wow. And that team is built to score on the power play and such. So then, no, they have to do better. Speaking about people that kind of have to do better, and not that I'm trying to insult anybody, but Filk, next year's finals will be presented better on TNT because it's going to be on TNT next year, if I recall correctly. And the hands down, I'm buying everybody around.
Put me down for a round 2.
Yeah, I'm just gonna click it right now too. I mean, ESPN, whenever they have a chance to fumble it, they always fumbled it. And look, we've had Ray Ferraro on. He's a great guest on the show, and he was fantastic with us. I actually like Ray Ferraro as an analyst. I've heard lots of people complain, and I think the crew is good. It's just their presentation, something was off the entire time. That's the way it felt. That's the way it felt in the regular season. That's the way it felt early in the playoffs too. Why wasn't Kevin Weeks given more screen time? Why wasn't he like a 3-man booth with Messier and Chelios? It's just it's and of course every time they shoot Emily Kaplan, it's always bad lighting and a bad angle. Give the girl a break. So, Filk, any other thoughts?
I mean, this is one of those times where you kind of just took the words out of my mouth. I really don't have a whole lot else to say. I mean, I like TNT's crew better. I mean, minus the one whose name I won't mention because he's just not worth my breath. But I like Anson Carter a lot. I've been a big fan of his ever since he stepped into the booth.
Likewise.
I obviously love Wayne Gretzky. That goes without saying. I mean, I even like Rick Tocchet. Rick Tockett's been pretty good.
Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't have a coaching job right now.
Maybe he'll get one soon. Who knows? But I do like Ray Ferraro. But yeah, Kevin Weeks. Why would you bring him in to just keep him in a studio? He's a guy that you should have on TV at all times because 1, he's great. 2, he's got a great personality. 3, he's got energy, and he understands the game as good as anybody that's out there on any of these TV panels. I think he's one of the very best out there, and I don't understand what they're doing just keeping him in a studio between periods. Like, if you want to do that with Messier and Chelios, okay, fine. I mean, I like having those guys there between periods, but get Kevin Weeks more screen time.
And the only other thing that we could ever think and point out with that is maybe TSN gobbles him up, or one of the Canadian ones. But I mean, Kevin Weeks is such a great personality for the NHL, and there's plenty of other guys that are going to be great too. I mean, PK Subban's going to be great when he's doing TV full time. I like seeing Callahan. I love seeing Ryan Callahan too. But again, why bring him in and then leave the Ferrari in the garage in the Stanley Cup Finals? No, they should have brought him in. All right, guys, that's going to actually conclude Bar Talk for us. And first off, everybody, thanks for playing along in the comments. I'm going to be doing a new poll question for you guys in a moment because we're going to have a little bit of discussion. We'll also get some ideas to get some of your comments out. But everybody, also do not forget that if you go to manscaped.com, you get 20% off when you use the code BAH and free shipping. And there's Filk showing off his Manscaped, his Manscaped raised buzzer. He didn't show off the Manscaped bod yet. I mean, we'll let Filk do that in time. But I actually am wearing my Manscaped shirt. But we're, and I won't exactly show it off. I did it at the bar the other night. That was a bad decision. Somebody went, "Do you use it?" I just pulled my shirt up. Not the best of ideas, but it is nice and smooth, which I can say is much better than my talking.
I could tell you right now, I have the other products. I'll go grab them. So no court, not Big Apple hockey only fans.
Oh. Although if we ever do like subscriptions and stuff, technically that would be there. So it's all in there. No. Speaking about things, no. I haven't deleted this photo yet. If anybody needs a reason to know why the New York Rangers should not re-sign Ryan Strome, there it is. I mean, come on. Anyone could have put that puck in the net. Ryan Strome. Oh.
Yeah, you're going to have to look at that moment and then the Jacob Trouba penalties as the turning point in that series. And just the ball toner.
All right. So what exactly is a ball toner?
So it's basically kind of like a spray that, kind of like a deodorant. Well, there's also this, which is kind of a rub on, but this is more of like a spray cologne type thing. Mm-hmm. And then foot deodorant. So if you got bad smelling feet. And then there's crop preserver, which is basically sort of almost like the same thing as the ball deodorant, but it's a little different. And then you got wipes too. So
it's always a good thing.
I actually got these probably like a year and change, maybe close to 2 years ago. I've been with Manscaped for a while. So I've it's good smelling product too, which is awesome. And it's not an overbearingly like bad smell, which is probably the biggest thing for me, because you don't want something that's overbearing. Like if you ever get to that point with a girl and, you're just like, okay, like, and, things start getting hot and then it starts, it's just like, what the hell's that smell? Like, that's too strong. Like, you don't want that. It's not like that. It's not like that. It really is awesome product. Like I said, I've been using these for, I would say 2 years or so, maybe just under 2 years. I've been with Manscaped for a while though, well before this. So I'm very happy. Mark actually has the newer version of this. This is the older version of it. So,
yeah, the Lawnmower 3.0 is what I got, and
yeah, I think I have.
I'm very impressed. It's a lot better than trying to use the straight razor on that because, fortunately, I'm already pretty hairless. It's just that if I kind of let it grow out, I look like a man-o'-lantern. So no, that's not a good thing whatsoever. Like I ended up getting like hair right here and then like the nose, and then it looks like
that. I don't have the trimmer. I probably should get the trimmer because I could probably use it, but yeah, that, I mean, I've heard the trimmer works. So
all right, now okay, so by the way, I put up a new poll question for everybody, which is, it should be there. I don't understand where it is, but yeah, who is the most dangerous non-playoff team, Filk?
From this year?
Yeah, I put 4 of them on there, but
what 4 teams did you put?
I put the Islanders, the Devils, the Golden Knights, and the Vancouver Canucks.
I've got to say the Golden Knights because their cap situation's a little weird just because of the whole Weber LTIR thing, but they're going to be able to work the cap but you still have Eichel and William Karlsson down the middle. They have guys. They do. They have talent. And they have a good defense. It's just their goaltending is really, I mean, Robin Leonard was not as good as he's previously been these last few years. So I wonder about that, but Vegas does have the makings of a really good team. They need to make a few tweaks, and I think they could be real dangerous again. So the Islanders, I think there's some major work to be done there, and there's a brand new coach that's unproven. Vegas also just got a really good coach that is proven. You know what? I don't know if you saw my post on Twitter about it, but I put up the GIF of Marchand overskating the puck in the shootout against Philly, and it said the Boston Bruins extending Don Sweeney for him to fire Bruce Cassidy to hire David Quinn.
Yeah, and
that Marchand overskating of the puck is literally that to a T. I can't believe that tweet wasn't a real banger.
By the way, is that official yet? Is David Quinn? I know he's on the short list.
No, it's not official yet, but he's considered by many to be the favorite.
I cannot believe that. And you know what? Look, good for David Quinn, but also I have my frustrations following him as a Ranger fan. I'm the guy that bought in. I'm the guy that he sold. I was hook, line, and sinker before the play-in round. And then squadoosh in the playoffs. They were just awful. So now I'm going to go, and you got me sort of convinced with the Las Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to have their end of the season thoughts on Big Apple Hockey, hopefully within the week. But I'm going to show the team that I wrote about this week, which was the Vancouver Canucks. I think they're making the playoffs next year. And I think they are going to be a real solid team. Bruce, there it is a real thing. All this team really needs just, they needed to just restart the season with Bruce Boudreau, and then they're in the playoffs. And you know what? Elias Pettersson came back. His last 2 months looked like Elias Pettersson again. JT Miller was playing at almost 100 points. JT Miller and 100 points, Phil. It would take him 2 years to get there as a New York Ranger. So, I mean, there's so many things to go with the Canucks. Then they add on this Russian superstar who just came over from the KHL, and we'll see how he is. No, we'll see how he is. I'm not saying anything else on top of that. There's a couple other young players that they got going. And you know what? Who knows? The Canucks can really kind of make some noise next year in a very weak West. The Pacific Division isn't that great. And that's even with Arizona moving over. So to the Central, and that happened last year, so not this year. But it's just, I think it could be the Canucks. So we got 9% of people saying the Islanders and 27% so far saying the Devils. So that's really some of the interest that has to go with that. Guys, also feel free to keep on throwing down your comments on that. We're going to make this a little bit of a segment when it comes to next year. And for next week, so that way, just in case people miss the podcast. But Filk, we're going to go to the rumor mill and start taking questions right now, because you were talking about a certain center from the Winnipeg Jets today in our group chat.
Yeah, Francois Gagnon from RDS, which is basically the French Canada's version of ESPN/TSN, came out and said today that the Rangers are very interested in a Pierre-Luc Dubois. And Chris Drury has been talking to the Winnipeg Jets about it. Nothing done, but the Rangers are in talks. From what I'm getting, I don't know how far along they are. I don't know if it's just initial talks. I don't know if it's just a feel out phase. But 3 days ago, I put up on my Twitter that I just had this strange feeling that the Rangers end up with Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I've been saying for a while going back to like the start of the playoffs, I think was when I first started saying this. But I think the Rangers are going to make a big move sometime between this offseason and the next offseason. I don't know exactly when it was going to be, but they were going to make a big move. And I think this might be it. And it just, for some weird reason, when I found that Pierre-Luc Dubois became available, just for me, it fits like a glove. He fits in so many different ways. He's 24 years old, so he fits in their timeline. Evolving Hockey is projecting his next salary to be about $6 million. So that fits within the Rangers' cap constraints. They can make that work. He has obvious chemistry with Artemi Panarin, playing with them during the 2018-19 season. He was their top centering the aforementioned Artemi Panarin and Cam Atkinson on Columbus's first line. He has 2 20-goal, 60-point seasons, including a 28-goal season this year. And he was not playing on Winnipeg's top line until Mark Scheifele got injured. Then he became their top center, and Paul Stastny moved up to number 2. But, I can tell you right now, Pierre-Luc Dubois also makes a lot of sense because he's big. He can open up ice for a guy like Artemi Panarin. He plays a heavy game, playoff-type hockey, which is what the Rangers are going to want more of. Obviously, we've seen this in the last year and change, that they've gone out of their way to bring in players who play that bigger, heavier, grittier game because they wanted to get away from the whole we're going to get pushed around type dynamic like they did, against Washington during the Tom Wilson incident. So Pierre-Luc Dubois makes a lot of sense on a lot of different levels, and I'm not surprised in the slightest bit to hear that Chris Drury is in on him. Me just saying that was just a weird gut feeling. I don't have any inside sources here. I don't have any inside information. I don't have access to anything. This is just me, just a gut feeling. I just think that they're going to trade for him. I think it's going to happen, and I think it makes sense now. I think you help keep your window open and get to that next level, depending on what you do to address the rest of your lineup and who goes back the other way. I have a feeling Filipino is going in that deal because they're going to need to send some salary back the other way. I think they'll move Patrick Nemeth separately. So that's for like $4 million. I think Ryan Strome and Andrew Kopp would probably both be gone unless Kopp takes the discount to stay, which I don't think is happening. But I think Ryan Strome has. I think that's it for him. I think the missed nets. I think the defensive liability that he is. I think the lack of improvement on faceoffs. I just think all that spells the end for Ryan Strome. And I know that a lot of guys in that locker room like Ryan Strome, and Artemi Panarin happens to like Ryan Strome a lot. But you can keep Artemi Panarin happy, and you can bring in a better player to help that line out overall, because their 5-on-5 production was not good this year. That line, it weren't, just weren't. So I do think that Pierre-Luc Dubois ends up a Ranger. I wouldn't be shocked if it's before the draft.
You forgot one thing about Ryan Strome. You forgot about careless offensive zone penalties. So that's another thing.
Washington at the end of each of the first 2 periods in that game, within the final 5 seconds of the period.
Exactly, yeah. And I bring that up all the time because statistically speaking, how the hell is that even possible? And Ryan Strome's able to do that. I always shake my head whenever I think about Ryan Strome, and not for nothing. It's because Ryan Strome is not the answer. I've used this line several times. If Ryan Strome is the answer, what the hell is the question? So, any event, I think he kind of outlined it pretty good. I just hope it doesn't impede using Kakko and Lafreniere a little bit more on power play 1. You got to start using these guys, because if you're keeping them off to the side, they're never going to develop. And this is where we've had this conversation, and I know Statboy Steven has said it too, where it's just, are the Rangers really better off winning these lotteries? Or if they were moved back a little bit more, then you have like Marco Rossi and I can't believe Trevor Zegras.
If they don't win these lotteries, then they probably end up with Trevor Zegras and Anton Lundell.
There you go. Thank you. And now your center position's done, and you don't have to worry about anything else. And I still think the world of Kakko. I watched him in the playoffs. The eye test says the numbers are coming. And that's why, if you would ask me, would I trade Kakko for Pierre-Luc Dubois, I'm going to hesitate first before maybe saying yes. And I just think, because you watched in the playoffs when he had the puck and he controlled it, by the way, 24 people watching right now. Thank you very much, guys. And since that is a reminder about Capo, but it's one of those things that it's, this kid, give him the opportunity, he's going to shine. That's just what it's going to be. So I hope you're kind of right about this. And I know Core mentioned it in one of the first ones on there, that it's that they could be in play for PLD. I believe I believe a lot of our guys have had this. John D. Lee, I believe, also mentioned him too. It's just, I don't want to see it at the expense of, and you're right. And and look, the Rangers are a top heavy team. I've said this numerous times. If they go with their power play, they go with it for 90 seconds. So your second tier guys don't need to be that great. The fact that I think they had, a couple power play goals from power play 2. I think both were Frank Vetrano, was amazing in the playoffs. So
I didn't think Vetrano was amazing in the playoffs. I thought he was good at points. I
meant the fact that they got the 2 goals from power play 2. Because it doesn't happen. Yeah. Vetrano was good. They can replace Frank Vetrano.
Yeah. If he wants to take a discount, his numbers were not great this year, Vetrano. So if he wants to take a discount to stay, I would be for it, just because they're going to need wing depth. And not only that, but like you give him time, you give Brendan Othman, someone like that, if he's not going the other way in the deal, you give him time to kind of come up, because Vetrano had 32 points, 18 goals in 71 games. Like, not great by any means. That should maybe get him in the $3 million range. But if he wants to stay for about 2.25 million, because he wants to win here, because he basically came out and said that he doesn't want to leave and they have unfinished business. You know, I mean, I like the idea of having Frank Vetrano as a depth scorer on the wings. So
we just got a message from our Anthony Larocco. It's a tweet I was just investigating it. It doesn't exist anymore. But according to Elliot Friedman, the New Jersey Devils and the Ottawa Senators are considered the front runners for Kevin Fiala. So, yeah, Kevin Fiala is going to move to a new team and make a real good addition somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Fiala would be a great pickup for the Devils. But, I mean, if that's the case, what are they sending? Because Kevin Fiala ain't worth the second overall pick. Not even in this draft. But, I mean.
Right. I mean, it would be an interesting.
Kevin Fiala had a great year, but I don't know if I would give up a second overall pick for Kevin Fiala at this point. Because
would you give up Alexander Holtz?
I mean, Fiala's young. I think he's 25 or 26. But at the same time, like, if you move on from Holtz, and you need guys like that on your team, because you're going to need to have players that are under team control, that are young on your team for a while. Fiala will turn 26 this month. So
yeah, I mean, here's the one answer. If I'm the New Jersey Devils, if somebody walked up to me to say, so we'll give you Kevin Fiala, can you send us back Lawson? I wouldn't let him finish saying Lawson Mercer. That kid is going to be
Lawson.
Yeah, he's going to be fantastic.
I think Dawson Mercer will be a good second line center. I think he's going to be one of those, like, jack of all trades type players. I think his hot start this year was a little deceiving, but I do think Dawson Mercer will be a good jack of all trades type player that it's like a Swiss Army knife, just does a little bit of everything at a very good level. So
yeah, Dawson Mercer. And you know what? But I wrote today or in the article, the Devils have a lot of pieces in play. I think the Devils are going to be regretting that Dougie Hamilton contract very soon. Like 31, I think it was 31 points I had him at. Just the Devils power play was ranked 28th, 15.6. Well, you got Dougie Hamilton on there. That should be a lot better. He had 30 points in 62 games.
That's not bad. That's close to a 40-point pace.
But still, I mean, that's not going to get it done.
No, but again, you don't have a lot of great options on that power play. You have Hughes, Hamilton. Bratt kind of came out of nowhere. Heischer. They still need a pure finisher on there. They don't have a pure finisher, and that's what you would hope Alexander Holtz would be. So
I did find one mistake. I have to fix that really quick.
What?
Even though I have it saying Dawson Mercer, at one point it said Lawson. So that might have been.
Yeah, that's why I corrected you saying.
No, I know. No, even though the very next line I have it saying Dawson Mercer, 17 goals, 25 assists, 42 points. Hell of a rookie season for him. But yeah, no, I mean, I saw the mistake, so I had to fix that. So, but again, I mean, Phil, here's the question for you on that. If they get Fiala, does that move him out of Johnny Gaudreau time?
Cap wise, they have the ability to do it, but that would be the problem. If they're gonna go after Johnny Gaudreau at that point, you're gonna tie up a lot of your cap over a very long period of time with the two of them. So how are you going to make this work at that point? Because Johnny Gaudreau is going to be a $10+ million salary. He's going to probably be like an $11 million salary.
Yeah.
How is New Jersey going to make that work? Like long term.
That's a good question. And it's the best year for Gaudreau to make to become a free agent after his first 100-point season. But I mean, a lot of these teams are going to really ask for that question of how are we going to afford him long term. And
that's the thing. That's what I don't get. Like, you're going to have a lot of players on that team that you're going to have to eventually give cap to. I mean, Jack Hughes, you've got signed for $8 million for a long time, which is great. Nico Hischier has got 5 more years left at 7.25 or 7.25.
And by the way, Puck, I think that's the first time I saw you. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a pretty awesome name. I just saw that too. But Tomas Tatar off the books after this year at 4.5. Same with Andreas Johansson. Igor Sharangovich, you're going to have to give a raise to. Yannick Kuokkanen, they're probably going to want to give a raise to. Michael McLeod, they're not really worried about. He hasn't really shown anything. Dawson Mercer's got 2 more years left until he hits his RFA deal, and then you're going to have to give him a significant raise. Jesper Bratt, you have to give him a significant raise now. Jesper Boquist is probably also going to require a significant raise right now.
And what is a significant raise for Jesper Bratt?
Oh, God, he's probably looking at $6 million.
I mean, those numbers, again, I'm going to borrow my own words again about him.
73 points in 76 games after seasons of 16 goals and 32 points in 60 games, which is about just over a 40-point pace. And then he had 7 goals and 30 points in only 46 games last year. He's looking probably closer to 7, maybe even 7.5 if they want to, because they might sacrifice and give him more to have him take more years.
I mean, here's a couple of numbers that I threw out there. First off, let me just say this about Nico Hischier. Captain Nico Hischier played in 70 games for the first time since his rookie season. It was just under a point a game with 60 on a team with a negative 59 in goal differential. The former top Swiss overall selection was a -1. Jesper Bratt led the team in scoring with 73 points. It could be an emerging star. With 26 goals and 47 assists, Bratt doubling his production from any season in almost every section. 10 more goals than his previous career high and 22 more assists than any other season. And his even rating shows that he's more than just a one-way player. This guy could be really emerging for the New Jersey Devils.
Hischier, yeah. I mean, Bratt, yeah. And then Hischier, I mean, I've always said that Hischier plays like a Datsuk light type game. They have $25 million in cap space, 334,167, and that's with Boquist, Bratt, Miles Wood, and Pavel Zacha do RFA deals. You have PK Subban off the books now, so his $9.5 million don't count against the cap anymore. Then you've got to bring in a goaltender because Mackenzie Blackwood makes $2.8 million, but he's a restricted free agent after this year. Jonathan Bernier Jonathan Bernier is still there. So you got Jonathan Bernier coming back next year. So but you gotta, so he counts towards the cap because he's not on LTIR. He was just on IR to end the season. So he's not LTIR. So he counts against the cap. So I don't think you're gonna move him yet. So I don't think a goaltender unless they go and trade for John Gibson, which I don't know if they will. Considering that Bernier still got a year and Blackwood still got a year, maybe they take a look at it and say, hey, you know what, this might be the time to strike on goaltending and just make the move. But Ryan Graves, $3.166 million, free agent after next year. I don't know if they'll bring him back. Ty Smith, $863K this year, but restricted free agent after next year. He's going to probably get a raise to $3 million, if maybe $4 million, depending on what they think of him. So Pavel Zacha, I think, is probably not even going to get qualified. I just think they're done with him. I just think that they've realized he's a bust. Like, he wasn't worth his draft position. Okay, you know what? He had a nice year in 2021 with 35 points, 17 goals in 50 games, 15 goals, 36 points this year in 70 games, which is a clear downgrade. Only one more point in 20 more games.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're done with him. I think he's hit the end of the road. I think there needs to be a change of scenery for Pavel Zacha. So I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think Pavel Zacha has played his last game in New Jersey. It's somebody that they've tried to do everything with, and they got a lot of. I'm still surprised Mackenzie Blackwood's just gotten worse and worse and worse every single year. In 20, I think it was 2018, 2019. He looked like he was going to be their goaltender of the future, and he might be shot on top of everything. Like, I mean, his numbers, not one number has improved since save percentage of goals against have gone up. Save percentage has gone down. Goals against has gone up every single year. It's almost like the beginning of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Bowling scores are way up, golf scores are way down. I think the biggest change for that team is going to be coming, I'll say, within the first month of the season when they fire Lindy Ruff. I don't think he makes it to Thanksgiving.
Wow, that's a bold one. Okay.
They've already redone all the assistant coaches, so they're giving him the chance to start the season. If he doesn't come out hot, doesn't matter.
Fair point. It's bold, but it's a fair point.
Yeah. I mean, not that I'm rooting for anybody to lose their job. I think it could be a very quick hook for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do agree. I think he's on a very, very short leash. But you're right. If they start off like cold in October into November, yeah, that could be it for him.
I actually just went by this tweet, even though we're gonna get some of your questions right now. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put that on there about.
I've actually got to get going though. I do apologize.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's okay. Then you know what? We'll just wrap it up. Although I did see this from Ryan Mead, which says, "Do the Rangers make the Eastern Conference Finals if Dolan doesn't fire JD and Gorton?"
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't. I think that they're in change as much as that was ridiculous, and I thought that JD didn't deserve the axing. There needed to be a change there. Needed to happen.
All right. So, guys, and I didn't even put it up the entire show because I've just been running around. But of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And Phil, as Phil said, we're gonna cut this one short because I do have a couple other things that I have to get done for us today for the channel and everything. And also, like I did mention before, we got a brand new logo that's going to be introduced, and looking forward to all the different possibilities and stuff like that that's coming along. So it's great. It's great having all you guys to join us today. And I was worried it was just going to be me, and then at the last minute, this guy comes out of the bullpen and just goes, "Yep, I'm available this afternoon." Yes. But definitely tune into us for the draft coverage next week. But we're also going to be doing some a show probably Wednesday as well. And then we also have the free agent coverage, which is going to be happening on the 13th. Still so much to do. This is so much of the fun season. And you know what, Filk? I know you're getting out of here, but there's one thing you forget about this part of the season, and that's link it to what's that sound? Oh no, I know what that sound is. Hold on. This is Gabriel Landeskog with the Stanley Cup yesterday, and he's letting his daughter sip from it. Like, isn't that just the cutest thing? That's just the cutest thing. That's what the great part about. And yeah, I wonder if it's beer though. I don't think it was beer or champagne though. I don't think so. All right. But again, everybody, thank you very much for joining us today. Sorry that we're cutting it. Actually, we had a 2-hour show, so
Yeah.
we're cutting this part short, the Q&A. But everything else was fantastic today. Always great having you with us. Keep recommending us to everybody. Like the Facebook page, and again, look for all the Big Apple merch that we're going to have coming out soon, because we're only just getting started. There's a lot more to do. Thank you, everybody, for today.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Let's go Rangers.